Hey everyone, it's Guilherme, and in this video we are going to configure Godot to work with Android devices. We prepared an Android game that you can find inside of our Godot engine tutorial demos repository. Just look for Godot and Android, and here you're going to find a complete project that you can import into Godot. The footage that you're currently seeing is the game running in my Android device, and by the end of the video, this is the result that you're going to get. Now, before continuing, you are going to need an Android device. That's the only requirement for this tutorial, so if you have one, feel free to follow along. Before heading into Godot and importing our project, you are going to need to download OpenJDK or JDK. In my case, I decided to go with the open one. You can find links in the description of the video to download them. Here you're going to find the complete list, and you can look for the one which is specific for your current system. In my case, I'm using Solus Linux, so I downloaded it directly from our software center. And after that, you are going to need Android SDK. Now, there are two ways that you can go about this. You can either download only the SDK tools. Those are going to be CLI tools, and if you're not familiar with those, it's not really a good idea to go that route. And because of that, in this tutorial, I decided to go with the complete Android Studio IDE. You can go to developer.android.com/studio to download it. Again, links for it in the description of the video. And if you are on Linux, you might look at your software center if that's not available over there. In my case, it was, so I just downloaded it over there. The good thing about downloading Android Studio is the fact that we're going to get a graphical user interface, and that's going to make things a little bit simpler for us. Now, after you've downloaded OpenJDK or just Java SDK and also Android Studio, I'm not going to take you through the process of installing these products because it's pretty straightforward. All you have to do is next, and you're done. The first thing we're going to do is open Android Studio. Once you open Android Studio, you should see something like this. Our goal here is to open our SDK manager so we can see if we have the correct APIs to run Android projects in our machine. To do so, we are going to need to access a project inside of Android Studio. As far as I researched, there is no way to open the SDK manager without having a project. So you have to create a new one by clicking on Start New Android Studio Project. Here you can leave the default of empty activity or just click on Add No Activity. Click on Next. If you want to rename your project, feel free to do so. But as of now, I'm just going to leave everything as default and click on Finish. This is what you're going to see as soon as Android Studio opens with your project. Here, the only thing that we are interested is in our SDK manager that you can find in this icon right here. There is also the AVD manager, which manages your Android virtual devices. From what I've tested, Godot does not recognize emulators, and if you think about it, that does make sense because after all, you are developing games and emulators are really resource dependent. Besides not being a really good way to test your games, it's also probably going to be really laggy. The only way that I think that you can run your Godot games inside a virtual device is by exporting them and then importing the APK inside of your Android device, installing that, and then testing. I haven't tested this solution, but feel free to do so if you want to run your games on emulators. As we are not going to use emulators, I'm going to leave this part out of this tutorial and focus only on our SDK manager. So open the SDK manager. And here you want to make sure that you have the latest stable release of Android SDK installed. In my case, at the time of recording, it's going to be Android 9.0, which is the Pi version, and the API level is 28. I also have Android 6.0, but you don't really need it. So as long as you have Android 9.0 installed, you should be good to go. If not, mark the checkbox and click on Apply, and the SDK manager should take care of everything for you. If for some reason after downloading Android Studio, you get an error saying that it could not find the repositories.cfg, all you have to do is just create this file at the path that it is asking for it. I'm not sure if this error also occurs on Windows, and as far as I could research, it's something common on Linux machines. Now we are going to need a debug keystore. Keystores are used by Android applications to prevent users from accessing data they are not supposed to. To create one, you are going to need a terminal open. As of now, I have mine open here. If you are on Windows, you can use PowerShell as well. We won't have to do any typing here. Just go to Godot's docs and look for exporting for Android. Around the middle of the page, you're going to find this snippet right here. So you can just copy everything, go back to your terminal and paste that command. This is going to generate a keystore called debug.keystore at the current path that you are in your terminal. In my case, it's going to be at my home directory. I already have one created, so I'm not going to create this again. And if you are on Windows, this might not work because your key2, which is the beginning of this string right here, might not be globally available in your machine. This means that it has not been added to your path variable. If that's the case, when you type this command, you get something like key2 wasn't found or key2 isn't a command. What you have to do is, with your terminal open, go to the install location of your Java SDK or Open SDK. Inside your bin folder, you're probably going to find the key2. and there you'll be able to then execute this command. Lastly, depending on your Android device, you might need the drivers for it. And you can find this by going to Google and typing the brand of your device followed by its model. In my case, it would be something like Lenovo Vibe K6 Plus drivers. I didn't have to do this in Linux, but back when I was using Windows, I had to get drivers for my device to work properly with Godot. And now we can open Godot. With our project open, we are going to go to Editor, Editor Settings, go all the way to the bottom until you find Android. And now we have to configure our ADB, jar signer, and debug keystore. Your debug keystore is going to be at the location that you created with our command before. But for the ADB and the jar signer, if you are on Windows, they're going to be located in your local app data, Android, SDK, and platform tools. You can get to this location by pressing Windows R and copying and pasting this path that is going to be in the description of the video and pressing enter. In my case, the ADB is going to be located at my bin folder, /user/bin, and here I'm going to look for the ADB. The jar signer is going to be located at the same place. Here it is. And the debug keystore is going to be located at the location that I created this keystore. So I'm going to look for it now. And with this, we can close our editor settings. If I try to connect my device to my computer now and run it with one-click deploy, it's not going to work. That's because we have to first add an export template for Android before this works. To do so, go to Project, Export, and here if you don't have your export templates installed in Godot yet, you're probably going to be prompted to download them, so please download the export templates before continuing. After that's done, click on Add, look for Android, and make sure that Runnable is turned on or else it's not going to work. The last thing we have to do here is configure our package name. Go a little bit to the bottom here until you find this unique name here. Usually what you have here is the domain of your company followed by the name of your package. For instance, con.gdquest.myawesomegame. And here on the name field, we define which name is going to appear below the icon of this game. For instance, my awesome game. And now we can click on close. Now, if I connect my device to my computer, you're going to see that we have this Android icon on the top right corner. But if that doesn't happen to you, it's probably because the developer mode is not yet activated in your Android device. To activate it, go to your configurations, go all the way to the bottom until you find about the cell phone, all the way to the bottom once again, until you find your build number, and then you just start tapping on top of it. Here I'm getting a warning that I'm already a developer, so I don't have to do this. But in your case, just keep tapping until you see the message that you're now a developer. Now, if you have your drivers installed and your cell phone is indeed a developer cell phone, you can connect your phone to your computer and you should see the little Android icon appear on Godot top right corner. With that, all you have to do is just select your phone from the drop-down menu and the game should run on your Android device. And that's pretty much it. We went through the process of installing OpenJDK, installing Android Studio, opening the SDK manager to install the correct one, configure Godot by giving to it the paths to our ADB, jar signer, and also our debug keystore, configure our export template inside of Godot. Finally, we activated developer mode inside of our cell phone and used the one-click deploy from Godot to play our game inside our Android device. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.